Hi, and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this reading, I'm going to be looking into the question, am I with the right person? Are they the one? So you can apply these messages for somebody that you are dating, you're currently in a relationship with. These energies can even be applied to somebody from the past, somebody you're in a no contact situation with, just whatever resonates for you. There are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Aventurine heart, along with the Queen of Cups. Group 2 is the clear Quartz heart, along with the Ace of Cups. And group 3 is the rose quartz heart, along with the King of Cups. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups, or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection, and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals and the cards so that you are able to more easily make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Aventurine heart, along with the Queen of Cups. So I'm going to start with tarot to get a general overview, introductory guidance and messages from Spirit. Are you with the right person? Are they the one? So we have the Knight of Cups, which is water energy, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. 3 of Pentacles, which is earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. And the Sun, which is Leo. So a lot of positive energies here. Definitely this is a confirmation that this is somebody with whom the foundation that you have established with one another, it is a firm enough of a foundation to continue to build into the future. If this is something that the two of you choose to invest in, there's a lot of love in this situation, and it feels like whatever has been demonstrated up to this point in time, there's more yet to experience or give. So if you've been having some doubts, even if you're going through like a rocky stage with this individual, maybe you find yourself in a period of disconnect or difficulty, the Sun is really an indicator of things will get better. A lot of, maybe a period of needing to go within, do some shadow work, do some healing, things that have really summoned these questions from within you, like, is this the right person for me? Am I making the right decision? Is this situation worth the investment in the long term? There's a sense here of a lot really coming to light, a lot being illuminated about the necessity of the particular stage you find yourselves at in this situation, maybe even some doubts that are organically kind of creeping up from within you, that almost like what's available to you next, it helps to solidify more of like a recommitment to one another sort of energy, that a decision to continue to invest moving forward, that can really be sort of the jumping off point, the pivoting point, the turning of the page, or even the idea of like a reconnect or a reconciliation between the two of you, to move in a much more positive direction. So definitely right here, this is an indicator that yes, if you're thinking about this person, are they for your highest good? Yes, this is somebody who what you have experienced with them up to this point in time, although there may have been disappointments, a need to kind of go back to the drawing board and sort of like reevaluate, restructure, or replan in a certain manner, that there's still a lot of love in this situation. There's a lot more yet to be experienced between the two of you. There's the energy of cooperation, which is an essential ingredient to, a connection that is lasting. Any kind of like foundation or bond of friendship that you have with one another, this is something that definitely serves the connection well. And there's a lot of growth potential here. You both resonate at a very similar frequency, and you simultaneously raise one another's vibrations. There's an innocence here, a sense of your inner children playing very well with one another as well, which again are like these key ingredients to what really makes a lasting and cohesive connection. So as just like a very kind of generalized yes or no, is this a person that is in your highest good? Are you with the right person? Could this be definitely somebody who could fall under that definition of the one? Yes, that would be sort of the short answer to all of this, but I will get into some oracle cards just to dig a little bit deeper, and we'll see what comes up. Some of these decks have some shadowy energies to them, so if that comes up, we can definitely look at that from the framework of maybe things that need to be worked on in order to build upon this foundational energy right here, to either turn the page between the two of you or to continue to enhance kind of like the growth and the development, maybe even some potential hurdles or pitfalls that you may discover further down the road, just things to keep in mind as you are moving beyond this very sort of base energy of positivity, love, and compatibility as far as co-creation is concerned. So what else do you need to know about the situation? Okay, so we have courtship, occupation, and privileged lady. So this is definitely an indicator if you're going through, a rocky phase right now, things are kind of difficult, that with work, with diligence, this idea of the Three of Pentacles, this cooperation, this occupation with effort, it is possible to move into more of an energy of ease with this person. There's a need to kind of like open up to receive maybe the nature of this individual's love language, any kind of gestures of apology, or maybe this is somebody you're still in the process of dating, this idea of courtship. And so you're wondering, like, is this worth the investment in the long term? Is this something that if I keep kind of pouring my energies into this, maybe a slow pace, kind of diligent work, detail work that is being done at this point in time to kind of like weave the fabric of your connection with one another, is this something that will pay off in the long term? Is this a situation that is worth my endeavors in that capacity? And these cards really do indicate that it's something, kind of the process of getting to know one another at this point in time, or even if this is someone from the past returning, it may almost involve this energy of getting to know one another again, kind of like a fresh start, but relearning one another. And that with work and with diligence and kind of attention to detail, attention to, the overt things that are demonstrated, and kind of reading between the lines, leaning into that energy of intuition, sensing beyond the words that are spoken, and taking into account as well the feeling and vibration that you are picking up off of this person, and making sure that you don't just expect them to intuit your needs, but you really kind of like work to express this, to openly communicate these things, kind of rather than just having almost these expectations or like a fantasy in some manner, feeling that, the right person will just sort of deliver everything that you are needing and wanting right at your feet, right at your doorstep. It's the energy of kind of, having that sort of higher ideal, that higher mind of what you're wanting to experience in love and partnership, but being willing to really get in there and work at that too. work beyond kind of, the process of getting to know one another, work beyond the difficulties you may face and like different love languages that you have, work beyond a tendency within to, maybe put your own needs secondary and kind of be the one to do all the heavy lifting in connections and partnerships. That in this situation with this particular person, there is this energy of the ability to have balance, to really cultivate and create and to receive on both your parts the type of love that you have been looking for. But it might be something that's still unformed at this point in time. It may be something that you're needing to kind of like go back and undo a lot of the past, maybe sort of the damage that was left in the wake of other people that were careless with your heart. Or if this is somebody you were dealing with previously, there's this energy of almost needing to clear away the structure or the framework or kind of the division of labor between the two of you, as far as, who's really investing and who's building, who's the one who's the more patient, who's more giving, who's more allowing. What does that kind of energy exchange look like? That there's a need in order to move into more of this energy of ease, to go back and like check your work, check the way in which you had been approaching the situation before, how you'd been teaching this person how to treat you and love you. And not being afraid to kind of redefine that, write some new rules, set a new standard, lead by example, as far as, again, teaching somebody how to treat you. And that from that place, with that approach, you do have the ability to move into this place of, it's not going to be all this heavy lifting. It's definitely the energy of kind of like equal give and take is possible in this situation. And so if you're going through like a rough period, a rocky period, or you just don't know this person very well, and there's a hesitation, like, how's this going to work out? It doesn't mean that by hearing this, okay, everything's fine, and you just kick your heels up and, move into this energy of passivity. There's almost this balance that's needing to be cultivated between, trust and a very positive outcome in this situation, and a willingness to get in there and kind of fine tune or fix and strive to balance some of the more, the elements that kind of leave something to be desired in terms of the dynamic between the two of you. And just in any relationship, there's necessary kind of like pitfalls and kind of these hiccups that happen. And so it's this willingness to kind of like work with this person. There's a lot here to really indicate that this is a connection worth fighting for, but it doesn't need to always be an uphill battle. And it's a sense of any sort of like difficulty, even kind of a back and forth inside of yourself. This is something that will give way to the receptivity, almost like maybe needing to go in and sort of repair some of the damage others have left upon your heart in the past in order to move into more of this place of trust and receptivity for the type of love this person is wanting to bring for you or wanting to deliver to you moving forward. So let's see what else you need to know. Okay, and we also have past life soulmate. You've had many past lives together. So that can be a confirmation for some of you that have felt the sense of deja vu, like a counterpart energy with this person almost. That may have even accounted for a little bit of rockiness if that has existed at this point in time. Maybe you're still in sort of that honeymoon phase where it's like, this is so incredible. I feel like I know you. I feel so comfortable and confident with you. But it's something to be very mindful of, that with this idea of like a past life soulmate, there is all this joy that you've experienced. But at some point in time, you may necessarily kind of encounter, some of the triggers, some of the unhealed wounds, some of the unfinished business between the two of you. And it's possible in this situation, or maybe you find yourself in this kind of predicament right now, that there's been, all of this chemistry, all of this magnetization toward one another, and then pivoting in another direction. This, when you encounter that, or if you're experiencing that now, this is the time to really go back into that foundational work. Work to kind of like understand that in the nature of like multi-life connections, these things that kind of transcend time and space, it's not always joyous experiences, but we do have the present ability, the healing that we do within, the forgiveness and release work that we do within, it has the ability to ripple out through multiple lifetimes, to kind of put to a place of peace those versions of ourselves and even that other person, that we're left with like a sense of disappointment or loss, unrequited love, love that ended too soon, just whatever that story, love that could never actually come into form and being, all of those little like wounds and triggers at the soul level that very unconsciously may rise up in circumstances when we encounter those familiar souls that we are so drawn to. And yet at the same time, with that kind of sense of enticement is also that sense of disappointment of like, ooh, at the soul level, I remember all the times this really hurt. Do I want to get involved in this once again? So this may be a very unique opportunity here, that there's a lot of love and clarity and renewal and rejuvenation that's possible, but it's, again, something that's going to require work to kind of like neutralize some triggers within the two of you individually. Even just one of you very consciously endeavoring to do this, it ripples out through time and space, and you're kind of like healing different versions of yourself, how those versions of you interacted with versions of this other person, and it has the ability to kind of filter back down, energetically speaking, into the embodiment of the two of you in the here and now. And we also have synergistic. This is your energetic match. Two birds sing sweeter than one. So again, counterpart energy right there, soulmate energy, another just direct confirmation that yes, this is definitely, you're with the right person, you're inquiring about the right person. There is something by way of constructive love, harmony that is available to you should the two of you choose to work to achieve this or to cultivate or repair this in the dynamic, between the two of you. And we also have trust, a need to trust in the divine plan at this time, regardless of the external. So any kind of like separation or distance you find yourself in, maybe even just kind of a sense of trepidation. If this is someone new that you're getting to know, you've just started seeing them and there's this anticipation of familiarity, like I know you from somewhere. We're meeting for the first time and I'm so drawn to you, and yet there's this kind of like wave or current of fear that is coming up from within. Maybe even just fear at kind of other heartbreaks of the past, and like I don't want to go through that again. I feel this deep connection with this person, but I don't want to open myself up to more disappointment. That there's a need to kind of go with the flow of all of this, to honor these parts of yourself, to honor kind of the stage that your journey with this individual is in. Honor kind of this and that being sort of what can develop between you in time. Moving with confidence and an abundance mindset that the challenges, if these are things from this lifetime or even residue from past lifetimes, that you do have the ability to create restoration and harmony and balance in these elements in various ways, maybe outside of the box thinking, even the idea of kind of tension between the two of you in this life, a bit of trepidation can be alleviated to a certain degree or even very substantially by tracing back into those past lives, past life journeying, past life healing, shamanic journey work. It may well surprise you at how that kind of eases the dynamic between the two of you, and sort of this soul burden has been lifted as well. So again, this idea of like trust and sort of the phase you find yourself in, and not being so kind of fixed or focused as kind of this current reality is all that there is, but there's like more to be experienced here, more that's possible. This is just a foundational energy, and there's a lot here to indicate that this can move in a very positive and uplifting direction. And we also have unexpected people, events, messages, travel, or situations. So if this is someone you are in no contact with, you may be hearing from them very soon, running into them very soon, kind of like an unexpected or chance meeting. The sense of the universe really conspiring to bring the two of you together. This may even be the nature of how you have met this person, this kind of like past life soulmate energy. Sort of when you were least expecting it, love came along, and with that came everything of like this deep soul knowing, this deep sense of connection, this deep sense of like, I want this person to be my forever person. I want to be sure that I'm in the right connection, that I'm in the right relationship. And it feels like something also, even beyond what's coming through in this reading, some of you may be getting some other kind of like signs or indicators, maybe even like birds, pairs of birds, lovebirds specifically. This is something, or even doves because they're, or penguins because they're mating for life. It's like this idea of coupling. Things like this might start to trickle into your reality. You're seeing a lot of these things maybe in the aftermath of watching this reading that can be those additional confirmations for you of this person person that you're watching the reading for, this person you are currently with, the person on your mind, or even somebody you're in separation from, but you've been doing this dance back and forth across time and space, and kind of in the duration of having known one another in this lifetime. There is an energy here of kind of, however far you wander from one another, expect the unexpected, that there will be a coming back together, that even kind of a period of separation or needing to introspect, it's very necessary in order to be able to create balance within and to bring restoration and balance to the situation with you moving forward. So let's see what else you need to know about this. Okay, we have passion. The desire for each other is strong and keeps this alive. So that's an energy of magnetization. Across time and space, you at the soul level have been calling to one another. It is no accident that you have encountered one another in this lifetime, but it feels to be something that it's almost a connection, that these sweet rewards are available to you, this very loving energy, more than what you're experiencing now if things are going very well between the two of you, definitely more than what you're experiencing now if you find yourself in separation from this person. But it's a sense of no matter how far you wander, you're always drawn back to one another. It's like the spark for one another. It's something that is really awakened or enlivened between the two of you, that this is the glue that keeps you together despite the changing circumstances. Changes as far as like lifetimes are concerned, changes as far as like, unexpected things, unexpected events that kind of pivot you in different directions only to bring you back together once again. That it is this passion. It is this, at times it may kind of dwindle down to an ember. At other times it is a roaring flame within you. You definitely may resonate as a twin flame. That can, be kind of the vibrations here. And with that, obviously, in all twin flame dynamics is the necessity of a period of separation, of moving apart from one another to learn very individual lessons, to crystallize wisdom in order to bring that back together to one another for the purposes of like the exchange of healing and growth oriented energies. And it can definitely be something that sort of, no matter how far you wander, no matter how, difficult that process of kind of like building or fighting through some of the darker times in this connection may have been or may be in the future, that there's definitely enough of like this soul bond between the two of you. There's definitely enough of this like attraction and this mutual passion to really operate as an incentive for the two of you to continue to fight through this, should you choose to both do that. We also have negligence. Negligent acts stems from past abandonment. So this is really tying into that idea of what was coming through about the past life connection and kind of all this joy, the giddiness, the sense of soul recognition. I remember you at the soul level, and just how bright and beautiful that can feel. But with that also comes in, this idea of like past wounds, things from other lifetimes, even, in a more kind of immediate and mundane sense. There's an indicator here of kind of the level and intensity of love, this kind of like level of joy, this level of passion. This may really be triggering within you or in this person sort of a fear of loss, a fear of being hurt, wounds of the past that are needing to be remedied or fixed within each of you in order to really pivot this situation to the next level. So if you find yourself kind of at a holding pattern where you're really questioning, or you're just, things are still going really well. Maybe it's the early stages, but there's something within you that's starting to creep in, this kind of like energy of dread, kind of like, when's the other shoe going to drop? That can be an indicator of this kind of like past things, wounds within that are needing to really be sparked and activated and brought to the surface so that, you and this person can do that individual healing within yourself to be able to bring that vibration of restoration to one another moving forward in the connection. And we also have perspective. A different outlook is needed on this situation. So again, this idea of any kind of like distance, dissonance, even that soul familiarity, that sense of deja vu, it's this perspective that this is not the first lifetime you are meeting this person. There's kind of a greater purpose to this as well, this intersection in this time, in this way, in this information age where people are able to, go on a thing called the internet and watch readings and find out about things like past life connections and soulmates and twin flames and, really kind of have access to sort of like tap into the higher mind and higher thoughts and the emotions of people that they're dealing with. There's the ability to research, to, help ourselves, to find help externally if we need that. Things that were not necessarily available in other time periods as widely accessible as they are now. So it brings to mind the idea of, whether this is some kind of grand cosmic relationship in the form of like a twin flame or a past life soulmate, or whether this is just somebody on a very mundane level that you're heavily invested in, is like, I want this to be my forever person. This is my bird of a feather, and I want to, try to ensure that I want to do my part to make sure we're moving forward toward a cohesive future with one another. It feels like there's some kind of a necessity here, or some kind of like a roadblock, or something that will come up or has already presented itself that is kind of for the purposes not of driving you away from one another permanently and eternally, but almost just like you've needed to kind of spark or activate something within, some kind of like a seed of doubt that has brought you out of this energy of just being very present in the moment, very kind of engaged with everything that's developed. This sense of questioning and hesitation and trepidation is for the purposes of a widened perspective, to start to ask those bigger questions, to dig beneath the surface of this situation, to create that restoration and healing, look outside of the box, maybe start to do some past life healing, to alleviate some kind of like heaviness or density in your own vibration. And then that translates into what you are presenting to this person moving forward. It's something that the work you do to heal within, if you find yourself at a distance from one another, this idea of perspective can also really tie into distance is a gift. The separation is a gift. It's an opportunity to individually work on things you might otherwise have overlooked or not been able to kind of get at as intricately and with as much detail as you could, alone while you're together. And so it's a sense of kind of like the work that you're doing, the investment that you're making within yourself to be very present in kind of this energy of, joy and the expectation of the beautiful things that can develop, but also being very mindful and cognizant of kind of like the to-do list of things that need to be worked on in terms of the communication between the two of you, communication with yourself, how you're feeling, being very aware of how they're feeling, that there's an ability here to kind of like shift the larger meaning of this, or the idea of what's possible between the two of you, that some healing may be necessary in order to really unwrap the next layer of what's possible going forward. So I'm going to get a final message from this deck, and then I'll get into some initials for you. Okay, and we have go slow, take time to get to know each other. So that is beautiful advice right there. And again, this idea of like detailed work, that slow and steady progress, ensuring that you're building that firm foundation with one another. If this is somebody, that you're freshly meeting, you're just starting to deal with, you've only been with for a short amount of time, and it's like, is this the one? Is this the person? Is this the forever partnership? It's this idea of allowing the situation to develop very organically, specifically if this is, and especially if this is like a past life soul connection where you're feeling all this intensity, it may even very well be a twin flame connection for you. And there's a sense to kind of like dive fully into that, or get very carried away in those energies, get very bogged down and overwhelmed. Keeping in mind this person also may be very kind of drawn to you, but at the same time deeply triggered by this situation. With time and patience, and the ability to look at any kind of separation that may occur, or on the flip side of that, if all of that's already unfolded and you find yourself, in kind of the separation stage, to just be very patient with that process. Use that energy, use that time and space, that kind of distance that has been created between the two of you to really work and go within, to do that work to heal within, raise your vibration, and then it sends sends out a corresponding frequency, which can help to motivate that person, to elevate in their own way. This can definitely help to encourage kind of a coming back together between the two of you, a need to maybe even like re-meet one another, get to know one another over again. It's the idea of you can't go wrong if you very diligently lay a foundation. It's when we rush into things. It's when we don't kind of consider all the elements, the practical, the tangible, as well as allowing space for kind of the emotional and the passion, the spiritual energies. It's, the best partnerships come from kind of that full balance of all of these elements. So really take the time to get to know one another in these different circumstances and scenarios, these different elements, the different facets of each of your needs, wants, and desires, not as fixed points, but as ever changing kind of ideas and concepts. And from that place, it's again the idea of like slow and steady wins the race. This does have a connection that has the ability to turn into something lasting. You are with the right person in terms of those of you wanting to build to a forever kind of relationship. This person does have the makings of someone who's the one, but it is going to take work on both of your parts. Action-oriented work, and also the work to be receptive and be open to kind of the exchange of loving energies between the two of you. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got S, S, P, O, R, P, L, F, K, I, B, W, Y, and V. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings other than topics such as love and romance, so that would relate to things like spirituality, ascension, wellness, and self-love. So if any of that sounds interesting, I invite you to check that channel out. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. It shows the clear quartz heart, along with the Ace of Cups. So I'm going to start with tarot to get, kind of this introductory sort of like yes or no, those type of energies as far as, are you with the right person? Is this person the one? Does this relationship have the making of something that can, develop into something, or to continue to be, or to be resurrected as something long-term and stable? Okay, so we've got the King of Pentacles, which is Earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Ace of Wands, which is fire energy, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And the Moon, which is Pisces and Cancer. So this moon is really bringing forth the message that there's a lot more than meets the eye in this situation. There's definitely a lot of passion, a lot of mutual interest in one another, but it's almost something to where there may be some kind of like an emotional block at this point in time, or emotions that have not yet been delivered or were not received properly, maybe due to this person's love language. This may be somebody who's very practical, but it also speaks to very practically in a tangible sense, in terms of like mundane 3D characteristics, yes, this person, this connection, both of you for one another very mutually represent kind of what the logical mind, what sort of the 3D self would indicate. This is the type of partner that I want to be with. And it is kind of this energy of sort of, this isn't a situation that is just based on chemistry, but that there's a lot of kind of this tangible interest and interest in investing in this in the long term. But something that still needs to be explored or experienced as far as, the energies of emotions. It almost feels to be something that, maybe if you're going through like a stormy or a rocky period in your situation with one another right now, maybe this is somebody you find yourself at a distance from. It's the idea here of like two people calling out to one another at the soul level, from across the divide. So something that you've really kind of manifested one another into each other's lives. For the purposes of kind of like elevation and growth in a certain level. But beyond just kind of like the tangible or the spiritual, it's a sense of almost like a connection, it feels like, that is meant to be very triggering for the two of you to invoke some kind of like heart chakra activation, that it's almost like this component is necessary, or if you find yourself in that distance right now, in kind of, this sense of like everything went very well, like on the surface, and then maybe this person just ghosted or pulled away. If you find yourself in no contact, or kind of like if you're still dealing with them, everything's going well on a very practical level. We're having a really good time with one another, but it's just, they aren't really showing me their heart yet. They aren't really showing me kind of, who they are inside. It's very hard to sort of make this decision, that there's this energy of a lot of emotional depth, a lot of potential as far as feeling is concerned between the two of you, and the ability to really open up into something that has the potential to be very nurturing, in the long term. But it's almost something that you're needing to experience a little bit of like a pitfall, or kind of like a hiccup in this situation. Almost like distance is necessary in order for like that idea of absence makes the heart grow fonder to really kick into this situation. And there's an energy here of like transmutation in a certain way, something in the spiritual sense or the emotional sense that is needing to be awakened within this person, and on a level awakened within you, to where it's almost like it's obscured, it's unknown, kind of who the two of you will become on the other side of this process would be the true deciding factor of like, is this person the one? Are you with the right person? There's a sense of transformation that is getting ready to take place, is currently underway, or that needs to take place, that each of you will emerge separately and in your own ways as very different people, through what you're kind of needing to encounter or face, or kind of like release or heal within the emotional self, or to really kind of confront. It's the idea of like the mirroring of oneself and kind of the shadow aspects, that until that happens, and it feels like something that's it's not a bridge that has been necessarily crossed yet, or it's still a process of you're being formulated. It's still kind of it's churning within the foundation, that it's kind of like on the other side of that. It would almost be something like revisit this question at a further point in time, because there's so much that is needing to be transformed, that is still just its raw potential at this point in time. It hasn't even, come to the surface. It hasn't even come to the awareness yet to where, yes, in a practical level, there is this kind of stability. There is something almost like these deep roots that have the ability to carry you both beyond some kind of storm that needs to happen, kind of like mutual tower moments, this energy of kind of like activation, opening, churning, but it's very undetermined, kind of like what comes on the other side of that. So with that being said, though, in terms of just 3 cards here, a lot of yellow here, a lot of solar plexus chakra. This is like sun kind of energy. It's a very positive energy. The chemistry, the connection between the two of you, the magnetization towards one another, these practical aspects, kind of the foundation that you have with one another, or the qualities and characteristics about each of you on that kind of like surface level. These things do have the making to be the glue which helps you to endure this kind of necessary storm sort of phase with one another, almost like a coming of age for the two of you, regardless of how old you are, but emotionally speaking, that must take place in order to truly be able to see and to understand, is this person what I'm looking for? Is this what I would define as the one, or kind of the right relationship? Because it's almost something that needs to be kind of formed or experienced within the two of you, where there's parts of yourself you haven't even been introduced to yet. But this connection definitely feels to be one that is going to make that introduction. For some of you, it may have already kind of sparked that pivot, that dual tower moment, where you're in a period of like separation, dark night of the soul, confronting a lot of things. And on the other side of that, it's almost, again, this idea of like revisit the question, that yes, on a practical, stable level, attraction wise, those ingredients are there. But on the other side of kind of like who you become, who you sort of, kind of rise out of the ashes to be, that's the version of yourself that is still just a theory at this point in time, that will best be able to determine, is this something I still want to invest in? Is this something I want to revisit? Is this something, beyond kind of those practical and the passion energies? It's almost like a leaning into this energy of prioritizing more of your heart-centered awareness, your emotional body, a need to kind of purge and cleanse your perceptions in a certain way, to be able to perceive kind of the true reality, the limits and the potential that this connection presents, in order to make that most educated decision for yourself. So I'm going to get some oracle cards, and most of these decks have some shadowy energies in there. There's a little bit of shadowy energy here, although there's a lot of potential, a lot of like strength, and the idea of kind of something that has the ability to resurrect or to sort of come back around to a reimagined form. But with that being said, like any kind of shadowy energies that come through, this can, this doesn't need to be something that it's like, okay, I guess that's it, this isn't the person for me. These can often just be looked at as something as like room for improvement, things that are needing to be focused on, kind of like on the other side of these hurdles or challenges, you each step into the version of you that moves closer to that place of being the one for one another. So what else do you need to know about these energies, this connection? Okay, so we have concern, main male, and family room. So this main male in conjunction with this family room card, it's giving me the energy, kind of like the ideal and balanced version of this King of Pentacles. This is like the stable, the provider, the nurturer, that solid partner that you can build a family with, raise a family with, whatever that family looks like, even just the family unit of the two of you, just in whatever definition that applies to. That this person, this connection, has a lot of potential to move into that, to grow into that, but there's almost this element here of concern, that it may be taking this person a lot of time. They may have a lot of like emotional maturing to do, a sense of almost like work, or even with this hidden energy of the moon, things that they have sort of deferred, they haven't done up to this point in time, that it almost might be something that gives you pause for consideration. Like, are you willing to wait for, whatever this period of like a toppling down, a tower moment is, maybe a series of tower moments, that it's almost like, again, this unformed potential that in a very practical sense, in a 3D sense, this person fits a lot of those characteristics, but there's something almost that hasn't been unlocked within them that needs to kind of grow or form or be developed in order for them to be that kind of like equal partner, that safe space. They're needing to cultivate that within themselves first and foremost, in order to be able to like give that to you, and also be receiving of those energies in the ways in which you have to offer them. This can also talk about, again, kind of that mutual energy. It's feeling, with these two towers here, like this mirrored sort of energy. So some kind of process of emotional growth to really step into that energy of, being that provider, it feels like, for oneself first and foremost. almost, the necessity of being able to fill one's own cup in order to really sort of move into that energy of, can I be, fulfilling and fulfilled by another completely. With this card here of concern also, and kind of this guy with like the head of white hair, this might also be something that ties in with family room. If some of you are wanting to have kids, wanting to start a family, maybe you're getting older, maybe kind of like your biological clock is literally ticking, and it's something where you don't necessarily have the luxury to wait for, this long kind of like drawn out process of what if. How long is this going to take? Because it's obviously something, especially when like spiritual awakenings, tower moments, all of that stuff happens. There's no guarantee of like, okay, this is the slotted amount of time and then it'll all be done and this other version will emerge of this person. So this may be something that's kind of like a factor of consideration, even if you're not getting to that point where like your biological clock's about to run out, or you're feeling that perception of pressure upon you, maybe pressure from your family, to settle down, to get married, to create a family, whatever that looks like. It may be something that it's almost like you need to check in with yourself as kind of like, if these other sort of goals are a priority to you, then it may be in your best interest to kind of look outside of the box, not put all your eggs in the basket of this one person, this main male. It might be time to kind of expand those horizons, because not everybody's going to have, again, it's like a lot of kind of qualities that are very positive, but something that's almost sort of like lacking or stunted within this person, almost like a bit of emotional disconnect. It's something though that it bars this person or this connection from sort of the full declaration or revelation of quite who you're dealing with, like what you know of this person up to this point in time. It's like they may have only shown you a shade or a shadow of like who they are emotionally. This may be somebody that has a lot of deep insecurities within, a lot of fear of commitments, things within themselves that, these tower moments that need to happen that, in the context of if you create some kind of foundation with them, that foundation may easily be rocked, by this sort of occurrence. And so it's something to really be mindful of before you fully just, commit yourself to this is the forever person. Like, again, that idea of sort of these tangible and practical things that you may need to factor in as well. As sort of like, yes, you've got this passion and this connection and this love for this person. Maybe it's somebody you're in a no contact period with and like time is ticking and they don't show any signs of resurfacing anytime soon. And so this may be something where, again, you're needing to kind of pause and inventory and go within and say, am I in love with this person or with the potential of like who they could develop into in time? So let's see what else you need to know about the situation. Okay, we have parasitic symbiotic. One party benefits while the other is depleted. Energy, support, and empathy are not equal. Give and take needs to become balanced. So that is really highlighting that idea of kind of this emotional deficiency or void, or just these kind of untapped aspects of self wounds within this person, or even very mutually in this situation within each of you that is kind of like triggered and sparked and awakened, that needs to be sort of balanced and healed before the full understanding or concept of kind of the long-term potential in this situation. Does this person have the endurance and the ability to kind of like meet and fulfill your needs in a partnership on all levels for the long term? There's some energy here about needing to kind of take some time apart, or maybe you find yourself in a time apart already from one another, and kind of this inner balancing that needs to happen, a need to kind of provide for those emotional needs to sort of on your own, to sort of lead by example, but then not just kind of open this up in a very nebulous sense to, forever and ever, you're going to kind of keep your life on pause until this person sort of comes back around or grows or matures or kind of gets with the program. It's almost this energy of like actively being in this process of kind of giving and representing, becoming that love in which you are seeking. But that there's kind of this time frame or like a finite, like an expiration date to when you're really sort of strongly encouraged or guided to sort of invest your hopes and thoughts. Like give this person the opportunity to change. If you've been in separation and you've already been giving them time to change, this can be a very different message. That again, it's this idea of needing to withdraw your attentions and your investment on them as the one for this period of time. Aside from the chemistry, aside from all the kind of like practical, logical things that say this is the type of person I'm wanting to be with on a partnership level. Are they fulfilling you emotionally? Does this dynamic as it is now, this circumstance, are you the only one doing all the heavy lifting, or is there any kind of indication of reciprocity that it may be time to disconnect and more fully invest in yourself? Perhaps that's the motivation necessary to spark something within this person energetically. They'll get with the program and kind of meet you further down the road if it's not too late and you're still open to kind of rebuilding this foundation with them or moving forward in a certain way. Or it's something that you can never lose when you invest in yourself. When you create that balance within, you send out a very different vibration, and it calls in a very different caliber of people. Or your discernment is so heightened that you're able to sort of like weed out those individuals who are just reflective of kind of that last cycle that you came through. So that feels to be strongly something here that's in this energy. It's like there's potential, but there's also things to really sort of take into consideration as well. We also have true love. This is a divine connection. So this is tying into the idea of whatever triggers you've experienced, whatever kind of like roadblock you may find yourself at now, or even like a period of separation or no contact, that there's a bigger purpose to all of this, even this pain, whatever has been triggered through this. It's really a doorway, an invitation for you to kind of go in and deal with some sort of shadow aspect of self. It feels like in their own way, this person is also in the process of dealing with that, starting to look at that, but you can definitely lead by example in that capacity, especially if you feel strongly energetically tied to this person, or if you are currently in a connection with one another. If it hasn't gotten to that period of the necessity of separation, it may be something where you're needing to kind of step into this leadership role to start to pivot and shift the connection into, now we're going to start exploring these emotional waters, but also not kind of getting your hopes sort of all disarrayed at kind of the triggering or the reactiveness, or not being so surprised if you find that this person may in many ways be very shut down. They may be very disconnected from their emotional body. They're not a lost cause. They're not beyond this point of redemption or hope, but it's definitely something where this is someone, it feels like, who needs to learn to love themselves completely, and in that sense they're able to give you more of a complete version of you. So it's something that, again, this unformed potential that each of you sort of exist at this point in time, that as you are at right now, in this kind of version of you, it's almost like you've reached the pinnacle of what's possible, that King of Pentacles even. This is kind of like the maximum trajectory of where you can go, but there's so much more yet to be discovered, and it really involves kind of this journeying within, a different version of you that comes through that, a different version of them that comes through that, and then sort of like reconnecting further along this process to see after we've discovered these elements of ourselves, what now? How does this fit into the package of kind of what we've come to know of one another up to this point in time? And we also have repression. Someone does not express how they truly feel. Yeah, so that's the moon card right there. All of that stuffing, all of that kind of like emotional disconnect. This feels to be a major wedge in terms of the long-term harmony that is possible between the two of you. It's not beyond the point of repair, but it's really going to require, and it feels like the two of you in very different ways, to do some deep and intense shadow work, to really search within, kind of, tap into the current of love, this idea of the divine connection, the true love, this kind of idealization of what love should feel like. From that point, it is then a task of going within, finding and eliminating all of those barriers and those obstacles and kind of those contradictions inside that stand in the way of the actualization and acceptance of the wholeness of that in the expression with oneself, the communication with oneself, and the exchange with another. And we also have lessons of Pluto. patterns of control, power, manipulation, and intense push-pull attraction. Intimacy is not possessive. So this can again tie into this idea of like this deep sort of shadow work, this Plutonian energy, Scorpio energy, like Phoenix from the ashes. There's some necessary period of like a crumbling that has to take place in this situation, some sort of an ending. This does not feel like a situation that just will linearly have this, upward arc to the I do happily ever after and everything works well. It's something that almost has the ability to be strengthened through some kind of chaos or dissonance, but it requires using that experience, using that triggering, using something that is falling apart or is needing to fall apart in this situation as a doorway to kind of dismantle these barriers and prohibitions, even like ideas of love and partnership. The idea of like intimacy is not possessiveness. There's a need to kind of allow this person their organic process of becoming, allow yourself to really stand firm in the idea of like, this is what I want in the future. This is what I want out of a partnership. This is what I give. This is what I'm expecting in return. And this may be something that pivots you in different directions. You're needing that separation in order to come to that place of love for one another within and for love of self within first and foremost, to be able to invest more deeply in this kind of coming back around with one another. A shadowy period, a sense of in the state that it exists right now, it only feels to be something where like limits and things that are withheld or just kind of this obscured vision, that's kind of the highest potential here. But on the other side of that, there is this ability to kind of rise beyond and grow beyond that, but it requires a process of like personal growth and evolution first and foremost. So let's see what else you need to know about this connection. Okay, and we have karma. The universe will ensure energy is restored and in balance. So this could definitely be a connection that you might resonate with as a karmic soulmate connection, something where there's a lot of karma that is needing to be balanced out internally. And that karma can just talk about sort of like lack or a sense of debt within oneself, kind of like a sense of poverty within oneself. It ties into this idea of in the emotional space, some kind of emotional disconnect or the energy of, stuffing and suppressing, maybe even like with this idea of family room sort of inner child wounds, inner child healing, something that was templated within you or within this person about your ideas of sort of love and partnership that are needing to be sort of abolished and sort of risen beyond, transmuted in a certain capacity in order for a different version of each of you to kind of rise from the ashes within first and foremost. A need to sort of balance things out, rewrite that narrative within yourselves in order to be able to bring some kind of restoration to this situation, or to truly be able to see and understand what you're working with, what the potential is here. On the other side of these changes, are you still what one another wants, or what you are imagining or envisioning, kind of that perfect partner, the person you should be with? It's almost, that changes that occur within you, that whole visioning of kind of what you're calling in may very well change on the other side of that. We also have lessons. This is a teaching moment. So again, that idea of like karma and lessons, definitely a situation that is triggering a lot of growth, a lot of opportunity for growth through kind of lack, loss, and deficiency in this situation. There is a need to kind of, not allow this situation to embitter you to the ideas of love and partnership, or to totally turn you off into what's possible in this situation with this person in the future. It does feel though like experiences with them, experiences from each of your pasts, emotionally speaking, romantically speaking, these open wounds need to be addressed, crystallized into some kind of wisdom. The lesson needs to be learned in order to turn the page, in order to kind of cycle into new energies with one another. It is possible though for some of you that this person is just, really meant to represent, this energy that kind of pivots you into more of a place of loving yourself more precisely, healing some kind of wound within, that is called this kind of connection or this dynamic in, kind of on the other side of the difficulties that you may face in the future with this person or that you're experiencing right now. This is something where there's a growth opportunity. You're at a crossroads. You can either allow this situation to embitter you or to motivate you to be better. And, this is something that it's a crucial situation. It's a pivotal situation, but it's something that can bring you more deeply home to yourself, to raise that vibration, to create that balance and equality within, so that moving forward, you're able to identify and call into your vibration and into your life and existence a partner who more adequately matches that kind of what you're giving and what you're needing to receive in exchange. And we also have acceptance. Accepting the situation can allow the release of any stuck energy. So for some of you, this can tie into kind of like a tough love message if, especially with how heavy these energies have been here, a lot of disappointment, a sense of like work that needs to be done, time that needs to be invested. Free will is also a factor as well, to where, you can be very motivated, like, I'm going to do this shadow work, I'm going to do this healing, I'm going to work through this, I'm going to learn the lessons out of these experiences and raise the vibration. There's no guarantee that this person will, especially with that King of Pentacles energy that came out at the beginning. They feel to be very kind of like fixed and comfortable in their life, in their world, in their material reality. On the other side of a Tower moment, a dark night of the soul, some kind of spiritual awakening, they do have the choice to not do the work, to not break free. And so it may be something that you almost have to just accept that element, that you can only affect change within yourself and within your own life. We can't control what other people do as much as we may want to try to will that or to incentivize that. Everybody has that ability to make that decision for themselves, to move forward or to remain in their kind of definition of what is comfortable, what is familiar, what it is they want for themselves. And so this may be something that it's kind of, you're needing to just sort of accept this as, a teaching tool here for you, as an opportunity, the universe almost saying, are you going to let this thwart your very loving heart, your seeking of true love, of divine love, just because things haven't worked out with this person, or, even the idea of like, if it's not working out at this point in time, it may be the idea of not now, but not never. But the most important thing is that you continue to kind of move forward on your path toward really honoring yourself, feeling the full range of your experiences, kind of templating for this person what that healthy and balanced emotional body is, because they have a lot going for them in these kind of outward areas. But again, that moon energy is just, there's something missing within, or there's something that they haven't dealt with or healed or looked at within themselves. There's kind of this idea of like shaming the emotions and sort of, the message that comes through with that is almost, in a long-term sustainable sense, it's almost questionable if this person could really be there through the storms that might rise in your relationship. Barring this work they are needing to do within themselves, there's almost an energy of somebody who, may be very kind of like they're caving in. Someone does not express how they truly feel. If you're needing that equitable partner, that's somebody who's there through thick and thin. On an emotional level, this might be a situation, at least in the current energies, where it could lead to disappointment. It might not necessarily be the one that sort of fits or fulfills that requirement that you have, that very kind of well-deserving element and aspect that is crucial to any kind of stable and solid and healthy partnership. So I'm going to get a final message from this deck, and then I'll get some initials to close this out. So what else do you need to know? Final thoughts on this situation. Okay, we have children. Children are important to this partnership. So that was coming up with this idea of like the family room and the inner child healing. Definitely some work that needs to be done within to kind of like reframe and restructure the idea of love and partnership, what one is giving, what one is needing to receive in return, some kind of emotional growth or maturity as well that needs to take place before this person is kind of embodying the proper vibration to be that healthy and reciprocal partner that you need. So this really ties into the idea as well, though, if you're wanting to have a family, if you're wanting to have kids, and kind of times of the essence, or, even if you have a lot of time left in that capacity, you just may be at this point of sort of like, do I continue to invest energy in this person? You know, are they somebody who is going to develop into, or are they kind of moving at that same pace as I am in kind of the family minded way in order to settle down and you know, get married and have kids and just whatever that looks like. And it's this idea of, you know, really kind of honoring and prioritizing those goals you may have for yourself and looking at that being almost kind of like that fearless protector sort of energy, protecting these goals and dreams at the expense of what you may be sort of compelled toward, or what is sparked within you of like, this is the person that I would link up with. This is the person that I want to be the mother or the father of my children. You know, if they're still lacking something emotionally, then, you know, it's almost this encouragement of kind of like, you may need to look elsewhere, that there's somebody else who will kind of, you know, be that kind of adequate co-parent with you, you know, that's going to be there to kind of like build and nurture and protect and help to be that stabilizing force in the type of life that you are living. So this is something that, you know, you need to take that into consideration as well, but it's also tying into the idea of a beginner's mind. You know, a bit of, as heavy as these messages were, there's still this element, you know, this is not a situation that's totally without hope, but it's gonna take some work. It's gonna take some time, you know, and it may be something where you're needing, with that moon, that also talks about intuition. You're really needing to look within. You know, your intuition will not lead you astray. That should be kind of your final decider in all things on life. You know, but it's something here where if there's a part of you that is telling you to hold on, to allow for this development, you know, to kind of just buckle down and do that work to heal within yourself. You know, maybe this person is demonstrating that they're kind of also getting on board with that this may be something that, you know, that time works to your advantage, that it is possible to evolve in this situation. It's not a fully set in stone, like it's hopeless, it's beyond the point of repair, but there is growth and maturity that needs to happen. So it's this energy of kind of like looking within to be that final and deciding factor of kind of like, for my timeline, what I want to create and build for myself, what that idea of what I and the one will be doing, you know, does what this person still needs to kind of grow and develop or work on or release, does this coincide with sort of the plans that I have? Does this fit in? Do I feel inclined to sort of like wait, you know, hold my ground, sort of be that living example of that change, growth, and development? Or is this something where maybe parting ways or disconnecting is the best thing to do, like in your own interest, and in ways perhaps even as that ultimate kind of motivator or catalyst for this person to start to do the work within themselves to reconnect with you further down the road. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, I've got E, C, J, T, H, Z, Y, H, S, T, U, I, R, L, D, V, and O. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings other than related to love and romance, so topics such as spirituality, ascension, wellness, and self-love. If any of that sounds interesting, I invite you to check that channel out. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the Rose Quartz Heart, along with the King of Cups, So I'm going to start with some tarot to get a general overview, kind of a quick energies, or relatively speaking, quick energies of yes or no. Is this person the one? Are you in the right relationship? Are you with the right person? Do they have the potential to grow and develop into that in time? Okay, so we have the Star, which is Aquarius, Ten of Cups, which is water energy, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, and the Seven of Swords, which is air energy, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. So the Star represents the energy of hope. Ten of Cups represents the energy of wish fulfillment. However, with the Star, I often see that as something that's kind of like more remote on the horizon. It's a little bit inaccessible to us. It comes after the Tower, after kind of the destructive energies. And so that can fit in very well with the idea of like the Seven of Swords, any kind of sneakiness or duplicity that has happened at this point in time in this situation. So if you're like in a no contact circumstance with someone, that can be that confirmation of sort of those energies right there. On the other side of that destruction, that kind of betrayal of trust, that sort of compromise of the harmony between the two of you, there is this ability to restore faith and trust, to rebuild trust. It may be something that happens very gradually, and it feels to be something that's more remote on the horizon. With the Ten of Cups, this, although it is emotional fulfillment, there's almost a sense of like a whimsical energy here. It's a bit in kind of, idealism as well. And so this may be something that it's tying into the idea of with the Seven of Swords that in practicality, there may be a lot to be desired in this situation. And for some of you, you may be kind of like leaning into the energy of, the potential of what this person could develop into, rather than kind of honoring fully sort of where they're at in their particular journey. A bit of sort of avoidant tactics, any kind of sneakiness or sort of like low vibration within work they've been avoiding within themselves in terms of spiritually, emotionally breaking free from some kind of patterns and habits that in the energy they exist in right now, they are raw potential. There's untapped potential, but in terms of like the practicality of, is this the right person? Is this the one? As it stands in this moment in time, it feels to be the energy of there's still a lot that needs to kind of grow and develop, or kind of this higher potential needs to find a way to ground down into reality. And that the reality of what's here on the ground, it's a deception. It's a mirage in a certain kind of way. It is both not the full expression of what this person is capable of becoming one day, and it is also something which is very important to be cognizant of. It's the idea almost of an energy of kind of ignoring some red flags and sort of leaning again into this hope and potential. Like, if I give this person space, if I love them enough, maybe they'll change. Maybe I'll be the thing, I'll be the reason that kind of motivates them to evolve in some way, to break away from some kind of habits or patterns within themselves. So it's this idea of kind of what's being invested in is almost like a dream, or it's almost that this person carries some degree of the energetic signature of what your true forever person looks like, the one, the person who actually will kind of meet you where you're at and reciprocate in these healthy and loving ways, kind of going from just this possibility and potential of happily ever after with Ten of Cups to more of like grounded in reality, Ten of Pentacles. But then in the practical application, a lot of this is just kind of, it's a bit of wishful thinking, and there's more that needs to be developed. This person needs to like grow or evolve in some kind of way, beyond. It almost feels like an illusion or a mirage that they cast. This doesn't feel to be something that is totally just you're naive and you're only looking at the best possible situation. That it's almost like there's two people presented here in the form of one person. This may be somebody who really makes an effort to kind of put their best foot forward, but there's parts of themselves, it's almost like a dark side or a shadow side, or things that don't really add up about this person that kind of speak volumes of what's sort of the hidden element of them. And of course, not everyone's going to be all love and light. We are composed of equal and varying parts of light and shadow, but it almost feels like this person, in a more practical dominant sense, is leaning into their shadow energies, at least at this phase in their life. Maybe this has been, the case for a while. This is somebody who's just kind of, a heartbreaker almost, or moving from energies, kind of one to another, almost in like a parasitic fashion in a certain way, due to some sort of like void or perception of lack within themselves, to where they may paint a very good picture of kind of, what they want you to see in a certain manner. Some of you may be dealing with an outright narcissist, or somebody who's just, it's kind of like a taker sort of energy. Somebody who just sort of spins the kind of tale that sort of presents this idea of this is how I want you to see me. And they really make effort to kind of like hide behind sort of these lighter aspects of themselves, or to hide in the light of your hope, what you've invested into them. Energies as well of kind of, again, like overlooking some red flags in this particular situation that need to be rectified, need to be moved beyond, or need to be acknowledged in some kind of way for the potential of this circumstance, this kind of like hope that something positive might develop, for that to actually become a reality. And it feels like somebody who's maybe not necessarily in the energy of really being able to fully commit in a long-term sense to the idea of like oneness and partnership. This feels to be someone who, at least in this stage in their life, is kind of invested in self, in the needs of self, kind of sticking around while it's convenient, and then kind of moving on when sort of the pressure comes about, okay, now let's start to make things very serious. This isn't like the forever and ever energy. It is a series of disappointments that there's a possibility to restore this in a certain manner, but it's something that's a bit more distant on the horizon. So if you're looking for like sort of in the energy of the here and now, not wanting to wait any longer, or even entertaining the possibility of like, should I allow this person back in if they're kind of like a hot and cold energy, there's a lot of room for improvement in this situation. There's a lot of lack that needs to be sort of turned around within themselves, within how you're seeing them, maybe even some lessons within about kind of like, it feels like you might be the only one, or you're exclusively, or in an overwhelming way, kind of like shouldering the burden of this, keeping that hope alive and investing, these emotional energies. And they feel to be somebody who's kind of just, they're going to bask in the light of that. They're going to kind of play along with that. But in terms of long-term reliable stability, it feels like this is something that still needs to be cultivated within them. So I'm going to get some oracle cards to dig a little bit deeper. These were already some shadowy energies here. And so for the other two groups, I gave this disclaimer of like, if shadowy energies come up, this can be, something that can just be sort of an added element, kind of more of a highlight, more of a descriptor. That would definitely apply in this circumstance. This can be sort of more details about this circumstance with this person, or it can also be something that is looked at as like, these are the things that need to be worked on. These are the aspects and element of character that need to be kind of developed, or, released or expanded upon, just depending on what comes through, to kind of render them into that version of somebody who would be a safe space for you to invest your kind of like long-term emotional happiness into. So what else do you need to know about this situation? Okay, we've got courtship, thoughts, and family room. So in this sense, this is really tying into obstacles of kind of like things that were templated within them from their upbringing, some kind of inner child wounds that are a block or a barrier for them showing up and kind of being that healthy and reciprocal partner for you in a long-term sense. There may also be like a third party involved here, some kind of ex that this person is still stuck on, maybe still hoping that this person will return. There's a possibility that they could just be kind of going through the motions with you, sort of biding their time or using this situation as an opportunity, like a carrot to dangle in front of some other person in the hopes that it will cause them to kind of come back around, to make things right in the situation. This can also tie into kind of some bitterness as well over something that happened with an ex, or just kind of a history of disappointments in love that have almost made this person kind of a player energy with the courtship and the Seven of Swords here, that they're in it for a good time, but not necessarily in it for a long time, at least in this stage in their life. It's also coming through that if this is somebody older, that maybe they've gone through a divorce, for example, that circumstance, kind of the breaking up of that family unit, has left some kind of mark upon this person to where they're not at a stage, perhaps they will never get to that stage for the remainder of this lifetime, to be able to be that long-term safe space, healthy and reciprocal partner that you're looking for. That the damage done by that has created some almost like resolution within this person, like I'm not gonna love like that again. I'm not gonna allow myself to be so emotionally invested. It's almost the energy of like, I want to be the one holding the power and the control in this situation, so that, I'm the one determining when it falls apart. I'm the one that kind of like gets away, with the most intact, the least amount of loss, because whatever that loss had been, in the past from this other circumstance, from whatever else had fallen apart, maybe a series of failed marriages, for example, it's really kind of like turned a page within this person where they're not going to allow themselves to sort of open up at the emotional space. They may be somebody who's very kind of like bitter or pessimistic, almost like happily ever after is just a fantasy, true love is just a fable, it's just a fairy tale, it's just a myth. In all practicality, things fall apart, things get ugly, things don't really kind of like stand the test of time. Beyond the honeymoon stage, that's when the deception comes in. You may find yourself in the honeymoon stage with this person right now, and again, it's the idea of like some red flags that could be coming up. This can be confirmation for you of that, of kind of where this person's at in their mindset, that they may even be very content to kind of continue on in this dynamic with you as it exists right now for a long term, but it's almost like they will not allow the situation to develop into something deeper than this. They will do what they need to do in order to kind of, if there's a sensing that there are deeper feelings that are surfacing, it's almost somebody who will do things in a duplicitous manner to kind of squash that, to try and break your heart in a certain way, so that it's almost like they're not tempted to open themselves up to some kind of emotional disappointment again. So this is somebody that has a lot of healing work to do within themselves. It's very unclear as far as, and everybody has free will. They may or may not choose to embark upon this for this lifetime, for the remainder of this lifetime, at least at this point in time right now. They feel to be somebody that's just, they're wanting to be very unattached. This is like, they're just looking for casual. They're just looking for surface level. They specifically run from situations where there are too heavy of emotions that are at play. If this is a no contact situation, that can really provide an answer for you as to why this person may have pulled away abruptly, or ghosted you, or blocked you, or everything went from being fine to all of a sudden, they're bringing in this very dissonant vibration and kind of tearing the walls down on this circumstance, on this harmony that existed between between the two of you. And it's due to kind of this wound within, kind of this abandonment wound, coupled with sort of like the disappointment, the blame upon themselves for whatever their role was in these other circumstances falling apart. Or again, something where like their heart still belongs to another person. And so they'll go through the motions with other people, just to kind of like fill time or feed their ego or whatever that looks like. But it's something that it's an energy of emotional distance. It's an energy of kind of casting whatever illusions they need in order to, kind of be that very sort of like pleasing companion in a surface level sense. This doesn't feel to be anyone that's going to, kind of have those discussions of forever or talk about the future. It feels like they'd be very elusive in that capacity, very triggered in that capacity. So, if you're dealing with somebody where you've already kind of had those discussions or forever, this might not be your group. You may want to pick one of the other groups, or this just might not be your reading in general. This definitely feels to really resonate with something that's either like a no contact situation or somebody that you're still like in the dating phase with. And it's very confusing. Either way, some turbulence has just been generated, or kind of these questionings about, are we ever going to develop this to another level? And it almost feels like this person is deliberately trying to like keep it stuck almost in la la land, kind of in this kind of very sort of surface level energy. They're not going to want to open up to things deeply and emotionally. This is not somebody who's looking to be that long-term partner. This is not going to be the kind of person that's going to have those discussions about the creation of a future with you. It almost feels to be somebody that might just keep you enticed enough to kind of have your attentions, but then there's almost this distance. There are things that they withhold. They only go so far in terms of the realm of discussing feelings and emotions, and that this feels to be something that's deeply entrenched within them. It has to do with their perceptions of love and partnership. It has to do with their kind of inner child wounding and difficulties from the past. It has nothing to do with kind of the caliber of who you are as a person, what you have to offer. This is very much some void or lack within themselves that causes them to kind of behave this way. It's almost the energy of like the two of you are on two different pages as far as what you're wanting, what your idea of the future looks like. It's very different. So I'm going to get into this deck now and see what else you need to know about the situation. Okay, and we have lessons of Neptune, denial, illusion, and deception of self or by another. Self-love, boundaries, and detachment are important. So this can be another confirmation of kind of you may be the only one sort of holding the weight of the beautiful future that you imagine is possible with this person. It doesn't feel to be something that they are on the same page with. It may be something where there could be a little bit of emotional manipulation going on if it's somebody you're dealing with currently, in an effort to kind of keep your attention, keep you as sort of a distraction even from, this hurt within themselves, an energy of just wanting a good time but not wanting to be in for a long time, and kind of the need to sort of recognize within yourself any sort of like red flags that you may be sensing, intuiting, that you've seen up to this point in time and have maybe ignored. This can be something, the idea of kind of a lesson here for you, something where you may have done a lot of work to kind of overcome some of these wounds within, patterns within, connections where you ignored red flags before to your detriment, and here comes this other person that is kind of a repeat in a lot of ways, perhaps of these same lessons. And so it's something where it's almost the encouragement of kind of like choosing self, really trusting that instinct within, and looking beyond the surface of this situation. Again, leaning heavily into the energies of this is not something lacking within you that has resulted in this. This is not something lacking in you that is generating this behavior in this person. If you feel very tricked or manipulated, it's not some lack within you. This is the purpose of this is to kind of like strengthen you in a certain manner, to really encourage you and entice you to kind of exercise these boundaries, maybe cut this person off, or to get a little more practical and grounded as far as what you're looking to cultivate and build, what the qualities and characteristics of a forever person, the one, the right relationship for you, what that provides beyond kind of like broken promises or empty promises, or just kind of this inability to sort of pivot beyond sort of a surface, like a courtship stage that the two of you have experienced with one another. And that this can definitely, as difficult and painful as these energies are, as these messages can be, as this experience most likely is with this person or has benefited someone you were dealing with in the past, it's a crossroads point where you can really take the opportunity to use this as a way to strengthen your discernment, to exercise compassion for yourself, really a necessity to go within and heal, a glimpse that you may be getting as well about some shadow aspects within yourself that in some way are embodied by this person or are mirrored by this person, and you have now experienced kind of like a real-time example of these things. The takeaway from this situation, because it feels like for a lot of you, you may already instinctually know that something's kind of off about this situation, or this isn't necessarily the person that you're looking for in a long-term sense. There may still be this element of like holding on to hope, holding on to that fantasy. But it feels like on a practical level, a lot of you have this gut kind of feeling that you're needing to disconnect from this situation. You're needing to kind of move forward in other ways in your life. And that as difficult as this can be, as disappointing as this can be, it's a beautiful opportunity to really actively enter into the kind of archetype of the alchemist, to take this pain, turn that into purpose, turn that into meaning, turn that into strength and to reinforcement for yourself. Shower yourself with all of that deep emotional love and consistency and honesty you were hoping that this person would have to give to you, but due to some kind of lack within, or just some void within themselves, it's almost somebody who doesn't love themselves. They're running from themselves, so they cannot possibly pour into you from a healthy and reciprocal place, because that is lacking, or it's tarnished or tainted within them. We also have detours, divine intervention, delays, and detours. So this can talk about, if you're already in no contact with this person, anything that has triggered them and caused them to like break away from you. It's almost the idea of like rejection is divine protection in this circumstance. That this situation is not meant to break you down. It's not meant to, you're not meant to, you're not intended to, you're kind of, the universe hopes that you will not sort of fall into the same sort of trap of bitterness and resentment and hostility towards oneself and one's own emotional body and kind of love in general that it feels like this person has in a very broad sense. That this might be kind of a delay in that intersection with the forever love. You may feel that your emotions were played with. You may feel that you've wasted your time with this person, that it was just dancing around only to be disappointed eventually. But it's a sense of almost like there's a bigger role that this circumstance with this person plays in kind of who you will become in the process of picking up the pieces from this circumstance that will help you to better align with the heart that is meant to receive you and to love you. That for a lot of you, this could even be the process of kind of like, the straw that breaks the camel's back, and you get very serious about kind of getting in deep, doing that deep shadow work. The idea of kind of like get knocked down 10 times, you get up 11. That's definitely the vibration here, to not allow this person and this experience to shut you down completely to the idea of finding that forever person, bringing that fantasy down into the reality. You're needing 10 of Pentacles. This person, the most they could give is that 10 of Cups. It's that possibility. It's that glimpse of that glimmer of that, the suggestion. But that solid, stable partnership, that reciprocal partnership, that grounded partnership, the actualization of that potential is out there for you. And it feels to be something, it's on the other side of this situation with this person. We also have thought patterns. Get out of your head and into your heart. This is the truth. So this again ties into the idea of really following that instinct, that inner knowing, the red flags, the things within you which just have felt off, have not resonated, have not aligned with what healthy and reciprocal love should look like according to your inner knowing, according to your soul truth, that this person may in some way kind of mirror or be a manifestation of unhealed patterns within. It's your wounds that have called this experience into your life. And that you almost have the opportunity to kind of go in and do some deep healing and restoration work within yourself, so that moving forward after you emerge from some kind of like a cocoon period, a need to really unpack all of this, to really digest all of this, to really allow yourself the time and space to heal from this experience. Even if it's somebody that you were just kind of casually dating, it feels like there's been a lot of investment in hope, in the potential feelings that were stirred, and maybe even this person who kind of led you on a little bit. They played the role in order to keep that attention on them. That sense of disappointment, a questioning of your intuition, a feeling of you betraying you even in this circumstance. You're needing to unpack that. You're needing to heal from that. And on the other side of that, is this kind of like deeper heart center awareness that's possible. That this is not something that's meant to kind of stop your seeking of love, seeking of the one, but it's something that is almost, it's another tool in your belt as far as a different face of what love is not, that helps you to navigate further going down the road, to be able to discern and to decipher more precisely what true and healthy and reciprocal love actually is. We also have lessons of Saturn, a soul's desire to resolve limiting patterns of control and dependency. Many challenges, but can bring benevolent long-term rewards. So again, this is this energy of kind of shadowy energy, dissonance, disappointment here, that this is not meant to be something that kind of holds you down or holds you back, but it's almost just triggering you into this deep place of healing and growth and expansion. This has been a necessary cycle for some of you. This is almost, it feels to be for some of you, this is kind of like a soul connection, a soul contract that you've had with this person, maybe even a past life soulmate that you have meant to sort of encounter them in this lifetime, precisely for you to kind of close that circle, to end that cycle of maybe encountering them again and again and doing the same dance with one another. You have the opportunity to take the lead in this circumstance. What are you going to do with this experience? How are you going to allow this to shape you? How are you going to allow this to educate you and teach you, as far as maybe some of you are leaning too into idealism of what love should be like, what love should feel like. This may be like a tough love experience that brings you back down to earth a little bit more, where in the future, you're not as quick to just kind of dismiss the blatant or the subtle signs and red flags that kind of the universe and even your own energy, your own spidey sense may have given you, about this person and then other people that you may meet in the future. You won't be so quick to just dismiss that. You'll think back on this, on the hurt that was caused in this circumstance, and it may cause you to then respond in a little different fashion going forward. There is the ability to kind of heal and rise from this experience stronger than the person you were when you went into this situation. But it's definitely another reinforcement of kind of a teaching experience, but not something that really has a lot of the potential of, long-term partnership. I mean, never say never. People can always change. It feels like if this person, did some deep diving, some deep shadow work within themselves, it would be possible for a different circumstance to unfold between the two of you in the future. But it's almost like the level of work of healing that they need to do and what they are mirroring to you within yourself, it almost feels to be something that for most of you, for a lot of you, this is kind of just a lesson. This was something that was meant to kind of sort of redirect you more into a course of being in an alignment with yourself, maybe sort of reviving your commitment to self-love, to self-growth, to self-healing, through almost this kind of mirage or illusion of something that you may have kind of forgotten yourself, lost yourself, and gotten lost in the feelings, gotten lost in the potential, gotten lost in like the past life soul recognition with this person, and really falling back into some old patterns, maybe even from other lifetimes, kind of old. And it's for the purposes not of kind of defeating you or sort of hurting you maliciously and deliberately, although there may have been efforts on this person's part to hurt you maliciously and deliberately. But in terms of energy, in terms of, the currents of ebb and flow, these universal currents, this is something this is the pressure, this is the kind of downward spiral that is meant to kind of bring you to a place of almost like rock bottom in terms of, feelings and intentions that you had and how those may have fallen through or not been honored or actualized, or there may have been a lot of disappointment, but it's from that place, that ground floor, that you're able to kind of construct something different within yourself and rise beyond that into an even more compassionate and loving version of you. So I'm going to get a few cards from this deck to see what else you need to know about the situation. Okay, and we have karma. The universe will ensure energy is restored and in balance. So that can definitely be a confirmation of this is like a karmic connection, something that you're not necessarily meant to be in for a long time, sort of like a seasonal energy with this person, something that is meant to kind of teach you some sort of lesson or highlight within yourself room for improvement, not in terms of that you're lacking anything in terms of lovability, but just sort of these unhealed wounds within that may have called in or responded to the vibration of void that this person was sending out as a signal. There's something with, as low vibration as they are, it resonated with some vibration within you that kind of felt kinship to that. And this doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make this person a bad person. It's wound responding to wound. And we can all only sort of factor in and affect the work that we choose to do within ourselves. So again, this energy here of most likely, the proper course of action. And it feels like a lot of you really already, this will just be confirmation of what you already have known or suspected in a certain way, that it might be best to just kind of like release this connection, with love, or just cut it off completely, put those boundaries up, whatever you feel inclined to do in this situation, and to really instead invest this effort and this energy, this attention that you've been putting into this and kind of pulling all the weight of this situation, holding on to that dream and kind of doing that heavy lifting to try and like hoist the connection to that point. This is something you are best served by really going within, unpacking this, taking your time to heal, and really opening yourself up, praying, asking the universe and saying, what is this meant to teach me? What within myself, was responding to kind of this lack that was then projected upon me, or that this person is kind of harboring as sort of like a predominant energy within them. That's the bottom line within this person, so that you can more deeply understand the face of that frequency within yourself, and then to be able to endeavor to start to change that, accept that as a part of who you are, and make efforts to move in a different direction. We also have acceptance. The situation can allow the release of accepting the situation can allow the release of any stuck energy. So for a lot of you, this may be, again, that signal of it's time to kind of give up this fight for this connection. It's time to drop that burden of being the only person that is kind of like working for this, that is investing in a dream. Ways in which you may have even been ignoring the outright signals or even words, indicators that this person had given. There's kind of an energy here for some of you that may have been where they were very outright about, I don't want commitment. I'm not looking for something long term. I'm kind of just looking for a good time, looking for something casual. And a part of you may have just said to yourself kind of like, well, I'll change this. I'll change this person's opinion of that. In time, my love will kind of heal them or bring them beyond this sort of stance and this sort of status that they are in within themselves. And so it may be time to kind of accept where this person is at, understanding that they gave to you the most that they were able to give because of sort of what is lacking within themselves, that it is no reflection of kind of deficiency or deficit within you, because this person wasn't able to kind of like meet your needs or match your requirement, or there's just this vibration of kind of like lack and uncertainty, and sort of maybe even like shiftiness in this circumstance and situation. But by releasing that, by maybe even, really checking in with yourself, bringing yourself back down to earth, back down into that intuitive center, into your heart, into your gut, into your solar plexus, and saying, does this really resonate on an energetic level? Not what my mind wants to believe, not what my, kind of fantasy thinking or idealism or the romantic side of me wants to believe, not what the wounded part of me is kind of drawing me toward, but what does kind of this very solid and whole version of me that exists kind of encapsulated within this sort of physical vessel in the form and is perceived as like intuition, energy, psychic sense, empathic knowing, subtle perceptions. What does this part of me say is the truth, is the direction that needs to be sort of taken in this situation? And, kind of even from this point forward, like not investing any more energy in the thought of, I can change this person. If I just sort of, prove to them that I'm what they need, then they will, change this opinion. If I just kind of, keep that high vibration while they are continuing to just kind of dwell in the dark, then that will encourage them to uplift themselves. That it's kind of at this point needing to just accept the circumstances for what they are and invest all of that beautiful, loving energy that you hold and that you tried to give to this situation and to this person, investing that in yourself from this point forward. We also have prideful. Pride is causing a distraction and division in this partnership. So this can definitely indicate somebody who is not at a place where they are necessarily ready to do that work within. They're not willing to change. They may be very stuck in their ways, stuck in their patterns, very attached to this wounded part of themselves. It's a lot of energy of fear as well. Fearfulness of kind of opening the door to, the unhealed wounds of the past. Fearfulness of, addressing how much even, if there's like a third party and they're sort of stuck on an ex, for example, fearful of acknowledging just how much of a hold that person still has on their heart that is making them emotionally unavailable, not just to the connection with you, but to moving on to any other circumstances, any other form of like bliss or blessings for themselves. It's the idea of like having compassion for this person, but at the same time, having enough almost like self-love to where you're able to choose you, versus something that may be kind of depleting more than it's giving at this point in time, and understanding just where this person is at. Again, people can always change, it's not like a forever set in stone sort of energy, but this does feel to be somebody that's like deeply entrenched in this. They've made this vow or this commitment, or they've been distorted or embittered in such a way that they've given all that they're capable of giving at this point in time. So to linger around any longer, it almost just feels that it will continue to be very lopsided, more of sort of like the same disappointments or questionings that you may have had up to this point in time. So I'm going to get a final message out of this deck, and then I'll get some initials for you. Okay, we have true love. This love is emotional, physical, and unconditional. So this is really encouraging here in this context relative to all of these other cards here, that really honoring yourself, choosing yourself, becoming that love you are seeking, checking in with yourself. Does this truly fit in all ways, mind, body, spirit, and soul? What it is that I am seeking, loving yourself enough to walk away from this situation, investing in yourself enough to where you're saying through action, words, deeds, energies, attentions that you're investing in this, this is what I need, this is what I want. For some of you, this may require kind of like a final ultimatum, that final conversation, and really just checking in with self almost, and kind of asking, how much longer are you going to just hold on to the potential of hope? Because there is true love out there for you. Again, this feels to be something that's been almost like a preparation stage, something that may even be for a lot of you kind of that one of those final lessons, hopefully, or the final lesson in kind of learning what love is not, in order to better equip you with kind of the eyes and the perception to be able to decipher and discern what true love is. So again, it's this energy that on the other side of what may be a very disappointing circumstance, what might have been a very disappointing reading for a lot of you, or even a confirming reading for a lot of you, that true love is out there for you. This experience with this person doesn't need to be kind of the theme going forward. It ends anytime you choose to end that, and anytime you choose to really invest in yourself. You can never go wrong in a choice to love yourself enough to walk away from something that is not fulfilling and resonating with you on all of those levels, physically, emotionally, spiritually. There is healthy and reciprocal love out there for you, but it begins by first becoming that to yourself, first and foremost. So this may even be something that's kind of on the other side of this healing. You're strengthening your capacity to perceive love. You have the opportunity to become more of a force of love, to not follow down the same path or road that this person has chosen, and kind of holding on to some resentments and a lot of unhealed things, and just kind of not fully being able to kind of like deliver or commit or to move into anything of any real substantial depth and clarity. But you do have that opportunity to kind of be that opposite polarity. As much as they are wounding some or mirroring some kind of like wounding to you, you have the ability to mirror to them, examples of kind of like, this is what love looks like. This is what healing looks like. You have shown me wounding. I will show you what love of self looks like. True unconditional love, which is not choosing to participate in more of that wound. Once you kind of have that knowledge, once you know better, you are then obligated to do better. So for a lot of you, this can again be that confirmation of these energies right here, this person, this situation. It feels like it's mostly in the frequency of fear at this time. There's another path forward for you elsewhere, and it leads you into that direction of that true love you're seeking. All is not lost, but it may be the end of the story with this particular circumstance, with this particular person. However, there is that healthy and reciprocal partnership. There is that one that you are looking for, and they exist on the other side of a decision that you choose to make in the interest of you, loving you at the expense of and in spite of kind of any insistence that the wounds within you may cause you to kind of entertain about participating with things that operate on a frequency other than love. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got A, V, A, Y, M, L, G, W, W, B, J, I, O, C, and I. So, those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance, such as spirituality, ascension, wellness, and self-love. So if any of that sounds interesting, I invite you to check that channel out. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.